everyone. I'll now call the Finance Committee to order. Director Hendricks, your report. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Councilman Lucas. I presented each of you with a copy of a brief report for this evening. We do have on the agenda this evening the first reading for the appropriation updates for 2025. And as you recall, we're keeping those current on a monthly basis, so we always know where we're at with those. General fund, a $30,000 increase. 10,000 of that is ice breaking. We did receive a larger than anticipated or budgeted invoice just last week, and also our property, fleet, and liability insurances came in at a higher rate than anticipated, and that's the balance on that. Also, Fund 201, which is the street fund, given the continuing weather situations we had, the last couple of payrolls have put us over what we had spent last year all year long, so we're increasing at about $12,000. Then also the insurance expense for Fund 206, which is fire operating, $4,000. Then Fund 203, net effect, a slight increase in the revenue that comes from the state for the vehicle registration fees, but we also, netting that out, we're decreasing the budget by $376,000 because we did that housekeeping with all of the projects that either now we're finished, we've got the final bills, we can release the retainer, all of those things. So $376,000 reduction there. Gap and audit, our team from the audit firm was on site today, and they'll be here the rest of the week. That's the second time they've been on site. All seems to be going smoothly, though we're always outnumbered when they're here, so it's a busy day keeping them supplied with what they're looking for. And normally they also will pick, probably a little later, maybe their next visit out, a few departments to go out and visit, whether it's checking inventory or asking them about procedures, those kind of things. They will do that, and I really always appreciate the folks in those departments when they go out and the time that they take to meet with them, etc. Also, we have, I mentioned earlier in the budget discussion, the 2025 property fleet liability renewal that's effective this month. We received our quote back with a 14% increase to $391,000. And if you just watch the news, the fires, the storms, the floods, all of those types of things, as well as cyber attacks, all of those things feed into our rates here at the city as well. But as you know, the administration has been very diligent in implementing recommendations geared at minimizing the increases, as well as just simply maintaining our insurability. So in addition to the impact of the current events, the industry standards for determining risk, one of the industry standards for determining risk is the total of your budget. So our 24 budget was $4.1 million more than our 2023. So they use that in factoring the premium as well, assuming that larger budget and activity, and that's not new for this company. That's always been that way, unfortunately. Also, let's see here. One thing that did not go up was the fee that we paid to the agent. They have been collecting a fixed fee since the time Fitzgibbons and Arnold took over the coverage from the prior agency, who would increase his compensation with the same percentage as the rate increase. So that saved us a little bit, and they've provided great services. Also, the funding, the appropriation increases for the general fund and fire operating which is 101 and 206, are not included in the charts that you received prior to the meeting last Friday because I didn't have the information at that time. But since this is just a first reading, they'll be in next time around. I'm early in the year. If you happen to look at those month-end reports and see negative cash balances in some of our funds, those that are heavily reliant on taxes, we've not received tax settlements yet from either county, but we have obviously encumbered known expenses for the balance of the year that we are aware of, just so we don't lose track of those along the way. So that would conclude my report, other than the budget planning summary, which is on the back side. And this is very familiar to you from prior years. And it's the key funds that we're working with for major purchases or major projects, letting you know the beginning cash balance, estimated revenue, expenses, the balance remaining, and then that final column is the plus minus for the current year as to revenue versus expenditures. And for example, the year-end cash, if you might look at a report from the end of last year, you're going to go, wait a minute, that's not the same number. This number is the unencumbered cash at the end of the year. So the purchase orders that were in place and were continued to be carried over into 2025 from 2024, you'll note from the asterisks, as it has been in previous years, is included in the estimated expenditures as part of the budget. So those are things we may refer to when we talk about some of the other committees this evening. And that would conclude my report.
Thank you, Ms. Hendricks. Questions?
Maybe I'm naive to it, but why does having more money in the bank take our liability up? Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
Do you have a good explanation for that?
It's not necessarily the money we have in the bank. It's the money that the organization has. So that's a risk factor in the insurance algorithm. Each risk category has a different value to what they rate different occupations,
So it's
different
not
types
looked
of
at from a
businesses.
standpoint of, well, you got $4.1 million more, you could probably pay for something more than have a claim?
No, you could. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds, but each type of business is rated based upon a certain amount of revenue. So it's a revenue factor that may have been exceeded. But 14% in the industry is not unnatural right now.
Thank you.
In the insurance world.
Thanks.
And that concludes, sorry.
Just to clarify, it's not $4.1 extra million that we had, is the budget increase $4.1 million, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, we're spending more money, so we're more liable for things that happen. Thank you.
Excellent answer. Any other questions, discussion? Okay, that will conclude the Finance Committee. Thank you.